Going into the fall of the year 2005, Universal Orlando would again bring back the premier Halloween event, Halloween Horror Nights, for its 15th year. Coming off last year's event, which was bigger than ever as it was located in both parks at the resort, this year would make the event even grander, but in another aspect: storytelling. Have you heard of the tales of terror? Well, no one lives happily ever after. This is SP History. With the 2005 Halloween Horror Nights event, Universal would try again to replicate the success they had with past years by including all new houses and terrifying experiences. This year would return to being exclusively held in Universal's Islands of Adventure theme park, though Universal Studios Florida would include some of their attractions during peak nights of the event. Though it was scaled to be in one park, it was expanded upon by including a lot more storytelling within the aspects of the Halloween event. All of Islands of Adventure would become a realm of malice and death, as all the houses, scare zones, and entertainment were related into one central storyline. But to enter this realm of evil, you had to gain entry by one central figure who would be our narrator as we journey through these tales of terror, which was the main tagline. This icon's name would be Elsa Strict, or more known as the Storyteller. Though she does not have an elaborate backstory like many previous icons, she made her presence known, as she would hypnotize her listeners and transport them into evil worlds she was telling. The Storyteller would be mainly featured on all the marketing and advertisements, as actually within the event, she was mostly unheard of and only seen in one aspect. Rather, there would be another icon within the gates to serve as the bringer of evil and death, and played a central part into the entire storyline of this year. This character would be named the Terror Queen, as she was the ruler of the land that guests would be entering in, which was called Terra Cuentis. She would lead this land ruthlessly, as she was cruel and heartless, and all types of demented creatures inhabited here, in which they served her to prolong the season of the Queen. Each house and scare zone would be a part of Terra Cuentis, as they contained many of the creatures of this land and were placed within the different regions a part of Terra Cuentis. With all that, the event was set as Halloween Horror Nights Tales of Terror would run for 19 nights from September to October and feature another set of 7 haunted houses, 4 scare zones, and 2 shows, as you would enter Terra Cuentis and experience the storyteller's deadliest tales. In beginning our journey, once entering the gates of Islands of Adventure, you would go through the first region of Terra Cuentis called Terror Gate, and guests would encounter the first scare zone located in port of entry called Terror Guard Run. Within this zone, this was the epicenter of death, as all the evil creatures of this land gather here to celebrate the season of the Queen, and witness the Terror Queen in all her terrifying glory, with you being the potential new sacrifices. This zone would hold one of the 2 shows during the event, as this show would be the Terror Queen's Ritual de Blood, with the offering being officially called Terra Throne. The show served as opening ceremonies for the event, as minions of the Terror Queen gathered to make a sacrifice for herself and the center of power of the entire land, the Terror Throne. In the storyline of the event, the Terror Throne was made from the gorewood tree, which had been soaked in blood and death for hundreds of years, and bloomed an addictive fruit called bloodberries, in which the inhabitants loved to indulge on, and also used to forge the ceremonial dagger of the Queen, the Terror Throne blade. Each night of the event, a new sacrifice would be offered to the Queen and her throne. And on the final night, the final sacrifice would be the Terror Queen herself, as they used the blade to slay her down, completing the season of the Queen, but only to begin once again in another 15 years after. Moving further into Terra Cuentis, you would encounter the next region, which was named the Ironborn Gorge, which was the setting of the next scare zone called Blood Thunder Alley, located in Marvel's Superhero Island. Within this zone, the Bone Chomper riders of Ironborn Gorge reside here, and look to make your visit the worst ever as they ride on their bikes and wield weapons of death to serve the Queen. It seemed that the Chainsaw Drill team resided in this scare zone for the year, as they were a part of the Bone Chopper Riders gang. But not only did a scare zone exist here, the very first house of the event would be held within the Carnage Warehouse and be called Demon Cantina. The house was set in the central hub of Ironborn Gorge, as this cantina served as a place where the Bone Chopper Riders hanged out and drink bloodberry wine. The cantina was run by demons and other creatures, and as you enter it, you are unwanted visitors and are to be hunted for blood. The house was said to be loosely inspired by the Robert Rodriguez film From Dusk Till Dawn. If guests managed to make it out of Demon Cantina, they would continue their descent into Terra Cuentas as they enter the South Hollow. This part of the event was located in Toon Lagoon, and it was an unofficial scare zone, as though not listed as part of the event, creatures called terror ghouls lurked in the fog as you make your passage through. Only one element will be a part of this area, which was the other show offered, located in the Toon Lagoon Amphitheater, which was the returning Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure. This year's show featured Bill and Ted winning a golden ticket to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, but tricked into a master plan by Emperor Palpatine of Star Wars, as he wanted to use a special chocolate bar that would give him unlimited power, and turned Bill into Darth Bogus, as hijinks ensue with other pop culture characters of 2005. Such other pop culture characters to be featured were Peter and Stewie Griffin from Family Guy, Batman, and Britney Spears. Even this show played a part of the main event storyline, as it was said that Bill and Ted were invited to perform in South Hollow, as fools and jesters usually put on shows for the people of Terra Cuentas in this region. But moving past South Hollow, you would approach the next region of Terra Cuentas called Gorewood Forest. In the entrance of this forest contained the next house to encounter for the event, and which was located in the Thunder Falls Terrace restaurant of Jurassic Park, being called The School. In this house, you enter the main school of this land, as all the children go here to learn the ways of Terra Cuentas and how to obey the Queen. These children love to play their own demented version of hide and seek called Dead Man's Wishes, and look to play it with you as they overpower the teachers and take over the school, causing total chaos. If guests survived the deadly game of Dead Man's Wishes from the school, they would go further into Gorewood Forest and encounter the third official scare zone located in Jurassic Park, called Cemetery Mines. Within here, you enter the mines of Gorewood Forest, as this is where all the bodies used in the Ritual of the Blood are buried to be made into iron and stone. But the further you go into the mine, you encounter knuckle grunts, strange creatures who will guard the mines at any cost, leaving you with one option: run. But there's still more to this region of Terra Cuentas, as one more house would be here, located in the Jurassic Park Discovery Center, being a prominent house in the history of Halloween Horror Nights, called Body Collectors. This house would have guests enter the facility of the Body Collectors, as they use this space to turn corpses of the Terror Throne into their own creations and repurpose for the Terror Queen. The more you journey through, you notice they have no regard for the living either, as they will seek to make you their newest collection. This house would win House of the Year for 2005, as it was a terrifying experience, and we would see the return of the Collectors in a near future event. Once escaping Gorewood Forest, guests would move into another region of this evil land called Dragon Forge, which would hold the next scare zone located in the Lost Continent, being officially called Fire Pits. Here, hellfire reigns, as this is where the Terror Throne blade is forged together in the Tangleroot Fire Pits, and oremongers who infest this region of Dragon Forge will protect their materials from anyone who dare attempt entry. But moving past Fire Pits, guests would encounter another sinister area of Dragon Forge, as it was in the form of the next house, being called Terror Mines. This was located in a new location, which was the Poseidon's Fury's Attractions Queue, and take guests into the mining system created by miners of Dragon Forge, which had contained the vast powers that fused the land abysmal deep. But while guests search for these materials, they must beware of the gnome rats, ancient creatures who will overrun the mines and look to protect their space from any outsiders. The most fascinating aspect of this house was that in order to journey into it, every 12th guest would wear a light helmet on their head, as it served as the only source of light inside the house, creating a very unique and terrifying experience inside. Once guests made it past Terror Mines, they could enter the final region of Terra Cuentas, which was another unofficial scare zone called North Hollow. Since this region was located in Seuss Landing, it would not consist of the terror ghouls that were in South Hollow, but kept the fog and creepy atmosphere. But within North Hollow contains something very sinister, as here there would be grounds where you can be deemed worthy of sacrifice for the Terror Queen, called Maldekin Pass. Within Maldekin Pass, potential sacrifices would face the Trials of Fear, and which were in the form of 2 houses, and if passed, you were deemed worthy of sacrifice. The first house to be a part of the Trials of Fear would be located in another new location, Soundstage 18, and be sort of the icon house for the storyteller, being named Where Evil Hides. In this house, you would encounter real-life childhood fears like the boogeyman and monsters under the bed, as the storyteller will be there to witness you either survive or become her newest victim of her devilish tale. One aspect of this house had guests going upstairs into an attic, and where the storyteller would make her very brief yet terrifying appearance. The other half of the Trials of Fear would be the 6th house of the event, located in Soundstage 20, being titled Cold Blind Terror. The house would be very similar to last year's house, Disorientorium, as within it, guests would have to pass through trippy illusions and disorient patterns as darkness and the cold flows throughout. Once passing the Trials of Fear, guests would move on to the final house of this year's event, being located in Soundstage 22, being ultimately called Blood Ruins. In this house, guests enter a village in the back of Dragon Forge, where evil monks dwell and search for leftover material of the Terror Throne Blade to create their own torture devices for the unworthy and you. But if left unscathed from the Blood Ruins, guests would have completed their journey through the nightmarish land of Terra Cuentas and have survived the storyteller's grueling tales of terror. Halloween Horror Nights Tales of Terror will go down to be one of the most ambitious years of the Halloween event, as all of its contents were intertwined with each other and successfully done so. The storyteller told her story, but was not done yet, as the following year would be the next deadliest chapter of Halloween Horror Nights, and it would be quite the celebration.